the community or with your church?
Always with my church, not so much in the Cleveland area, but with my church in Akron, and also since I'm actually from Warren, Youngstown area, even dealing with churches and people in that area.
And what is that caused a schism in the community? Is there a problem now, or has there always been a problem, maybe with minority and police community relations?
I think at points in times you've had some issues, I think because of all the things that have happened within the past several months. I think it may have heightened some issues, and I think that's one of the great things about the Attorney General putting together this task force is so now that we can address these issues. They're more out in the open, and I think he's looking for solutions and bringing people from cross cultures, cross backgrounds, economic backgrounds. We'd be beneficial in moving forward the relations between African American community and law enforcement.
Are you seeing anger in the community? I mean, is it anger? Is it frustration? What is it that you're seeing?
I think it's a combination of both. I think there is some anger. I think there is some frustration. I also think there's a lack of understanding to a degree. And I think when you bring people together and you can discuss what they're feeling, what law enforcement is feeling, and then find a common ground by which to work from that, I think we'll be moving in the right area.
And you have a unique situation that you were a law enforcement and now you're also a minister. I mean, so you understand the kind of split-second decisions that law enforcement officers have to make. And no one's really pointing a finger here at law enforcement, are they?
No, I think I do have a unique perspective from being a pastor, from also being in law enforcement. I think that helps me to see both sides, not be biased, not look towards one side, but to find a common ground and to find what's right. Has nothing to do with race, has nothing to do with law enforcement, as to what's right. Right stands by itself. And so that's one of my goals as part of this task force, is to try to see and point in the right direction.
Do you think maybe minorities are feeling like they're having issues with police, and police think they're having issues with minorities, or what's going on here?
I think you may find some of that, and I think a lot of that, once again, is when you don't know, when you've never been in certain positions, at least from law enforcement perspective, you may have a difficult time understanding, as when people from the community have never been in a law enforcement position. They will not understand. So I think one of the things we're trying to do is educate both sides as to what the responsibilities, what the feelings, what each one experiences, and I think when we do that, then it'll lessen any tension that may be within the community and the police department.
Would it help to increase the numbers of minority police officers or female police officers? Would that help?
I always think that's a plus, especially where you have an area that is more populated with minorities. I think we all do better at times when we recognize people that seem to maybe have the same upbringing, or some things that may identify. But I also think it's just as important that whether the officer is a minority, black, female, or whatever, white police officer, I think it's still important for everyone to be able to relate and communicate one with another. So yes, to a degree that would help, but I don't think that's the fix-all. I do think it's a component, but not maybe a fix-all.
Anything else you want to add? I asked a lot of questions. Anything you get out of this?
No, like I said before, I think it's great. I think this is much needed, and I appreciate Attorney DeWine moving forward and not sitting back and waiting for other things to happen. I think these things are always necessary and always needed, and I think more so this is a season for this type of thing to happen. So I appreciate him stepping out and moving forward.
Do you have any specific steps or best practices you'd like to see taken? And you can keep looking over there.
Well, what I'd like to do is just once again sit down with this group and everybody put their ideas together, because I think you're going to see a lot of brainstorming and then narrowing the various things. So right now I can't say, but I think as a group we'll work together to do that.